What does manhood mean to you?
This this is such a great question. It's so layered and complicated, especially I would say in our present society. But for me, my faith informs so much of my understanding of a definition like that. And so I would begin just by saying that it's my belief that humanity was created in the image of God, and that man is one articulation of that image. And so then I look at then manhood is centered on the male iteration of God's presence in the earth.
Hi, and welcome to another edition of King Crush Thursday, the series where we highlight and uplift Black men, because frankly, not too many people are doing it. My name is Val Gay, and I'm super excited about this brother today. He is one of those hyphenated kind of brothers. He's a civil rights attorney. By training, he is a scholar of the law and race and cultural studies. And in addition to being a husband and a father, he is a poet and a hip hop artist. His name is Mr. Tim Welbeck Esquire. Hi, Tim.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here. I'm so glad that you are here because your presence really helps to continue to open the very narrowly defined and myopically defined definitions that we see of Black men,
Yeah.
particularly the portrayals we particularly see in our media across the board. And I really want to make sure that we start to open and expand our view, if you will.
Mhm.
I often say that what we see in the media is not always incorrect. A lot of times it is incorrect, but not always. But it is
Mhm.
most definitely incomplete. And so your presence in the world, as we know, Black men are myriad. And we want to make sure that we are expanding our views. Because ultimately, my goal is for a young king who may or may not have positive Black male role models to come to this repository, see the same 6 questions answered by hundreds of successful and positive Black men, and hopefully find guidance there. And then for the rest of us who are neither male or even Black, that we can come to this repository and have our minds expanded too. And
Mhm.
so I'm so glad that you're here to contribute to this conversation. And I'm going to get started with the first question,
Mhm.
which is, what does manhood mean to you?
This is such a great question. It's so layered and complicated, especially I would say in our present society. But for me, my faith informs so much of my understanding of a definition like that. And so I would begin just by saying that it's my belief that humanity was created in the image of God, and that man is one articulation of that image. And so then I look at then manhood is centered on the male iteration of God's presence in the earth. And so much of that then informs what else comes from that. And that I believe that men are to nurture, to provide, to protect, to sustain, to help to create a society that we all can live in and create family. So much of that comes from that. I also think about just the notion of maturity too. So I think of just how manhood is distinct from boyhood, and that there comes a certain level of maturity that you reach when you ascend to, I guess, the title or the distinction of man. And so, so much of that I look at it from that lens. There's a scripture in the Bible where the Apostle Paul says, when I was a child, I spoke as a child, I, I understood as a child, but when I became a man, I put away childish things. And so when I'm talking about maturity, I'm even thinking about it from that vantage point as well.
Got it. Got it. That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much. So, Tim, who and or what is important to you?
Oh, so in a lot of ways, I mentioned my faith. My faith is important to me. My family is important to me. The people around me, the people that I love. So my wife and children, my extended family, my parents, my sister, my dear friends, and things like that. But beyond that, too. I love my people, and so I mean I love all people. So the idea that, like I said before, humanity is created in the image of God, and so I believe in affirming the dignity of all people. But it's also one of the things that's important to me is just combating the stigmas and and the various ways that Blackness is confronted in society in negative ways. And so when I say I love my people, one of the things that I'm actively working to do is to uplift my people, to move us beyond so many of the hurdles and impediments that are in our way, and to get us to that point that we can also be seen as human in full and complex and layered ways.
Mm-hmm. Yes, thank you. Thank you. So, Tim, speaking of that, how do you want us to see you?
That's a great question. So I believe I am a man of many identities in one body. As you mentioned, in terms of just my roles, I have many roles as I enter into society and things like that. But ultimately, I want to be viewed as someone who is using his time, gifts, treasures, and the like to make the world a better place, whether that's in my home, whether it's when I leave my home, and things like that. Someone who's authentically himself, someone who loves deeply and passionately, someone who cares about others, someone who works to make the world better for others. Those are the types of things I want to be remembered by.
Mm, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. So, question 4 is, what is your epic dream?
Um, Donny Hathaway said, "One day we'll all be free," and so that is my epic dream, that one day that we'll all be free, and whatever freedom looks like to the individual, that they're able to achieve and accomplish that, and beyond that, in a broader sense, because freedom for me might look different from someone else's definition of freedom. Ultimately, I want all of us to be affirmed, all of us to have the dignity that's incumbent upon our humanity to be recognized, for us to be loved and cared for genuinely, deeply, authentically. That's my epic dream. It centers around those things.
Mm, that's wonderful. That is wonderful. So, you've been answering question 5 all along implicitly, but I'm
Okay.
going to ask you explicitly,
Okay.
Mr. Tim Welbeck Esquire, who are you?
Again, that's such a great question. Timothy means honoring God, and that's my mantra in so many different ways. And so I look at myself as one who honors God in all things that I do. My middle name is Neokai. It's a Ga, traditional Ga name. My father's from Ghana. Ni transliterates into English as like a title, like Lord or Sir. It's a distinction. It's conferred to the oldest born son. Okai is the people group. It references the people group. And so you put it together, and Neokai means that I am the firstborn of my people group, but I'm also the heir to the throne because I'm the firstborn son. And so much of my heritage I look at through the lens of both my cultural and ethnic heritage that's articulated in my name, and then also the mantra of my life that's in my first name too. So I look at those two things together, I think, in ways that it encapsulates my identity.
Wow, that is so awesome. That's beautiful.
Oh,
Beautiful.
thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. That's great. So here we are already at question 6,
Oh, wow.
which is there anything that I should have asked you that I didn't, or you wanted me to ask you that I didn't? In other words, what did I miss?
Oh, wow. I don't know if you missed anything, but I just believe that a conversation like this is just so deep and rich. I feel like we could talk for hours around these various things, but I don't know if you necessarily missed anything per se, aside from maybe the how and the why. Maybe I do some of the work that I do, but ultimately, I think that this is just a great conversation as a whole.
Awesome. Excellent. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful that you've been here today. When I first encountered you, it was through the Black Music City.
Right, that's right.
And I went over to Rec Philly, and I really didn't know what I was getting into. I was like, oh, I just want to go and see it. And I heard you, and I was like, who is this brother? Spitting these lines, and then the music, the way it was, this beautiful, connection and beautiful meshing, if you
Oh,
will,
thank
of
you
hip
so
hop
much.
and jazz. It was beautiful, and like it defined or defied, I should say, genres, right? And I really loved
Mhm.
that. And I knew you were gonna have some really cool things to say, and I didn't know anything else about you at that
Oh,
point.
wow.
I didn't know that you were at Temple University. I didn't know all that you were an attorney.
Oh,
I didn't know
yes.
anything, but it all came through in
Mm.
your book, and it was really powerful. And so I'm so grateful for you. I'm so grateful for our community, that you're a member of our
Oh,
community,
yes. Thank you.
whether the Temple University Philadelphia community or
Mhm.
just the community writ large, the fact that you're walking this planet. I'm so grateful. And so I honor you, my king,
Oh,
for
thank you so much.
your people.
Uh,
Absolutely. So
yeah,
great.
I'm so grateful that even that you came to the Train of Thought live recording. For someone who may watch this at a later date who's unfamiliar with what we're talking about, I received a micro grant as a part of the Black Music City series that was funded by Rick Philly, WRTI, and WXPN. And it's supposed to empower Black creatives to honor someone from Philadelphia and also extend their own art in some type of meaningful way. My project was called Train of Thought, and I blended some of John Coltrane's music, or at least John Coltrane's style of playing, with my own. So I'm a hip hop artist. I have several albums, and so I put together a band, and we did some jazz renditions of some of my older work in the style of John Coltrane. And so we called that project Train of Thought. It's available anywhere that people would want to access music online. So if they're curious about that. And in a lot of ways, I say that my music is an outgrowth of who I am. And so much of the values that I hold and the things that I believe and just what I care deeply about finds its way into my music. And so I often say that my music describes the world as it is and how I believe the world could be, and so or should be. And so a lot of ways that was that. And so just really grateful that you were there that night. I'm really grateful for your support and your kind words about my work, and just even this platform here. Like you said, there's so much negativity in our culture, particularly around Black people, Black men, Black women. It finds its way into disparaging us in so many different ways. And so to have something that's designed to uplift is just so beautiful. And so thank you, and I'm glad to be part of it.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much. And stay right there, because I want to thank the audience for joining us. And I hope that you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. And if there is a positive and successful Black man in your life who you want to hear from and see highlighted in this forum, please click the link below in my bio, fill out the nomination form, and we'll take it from there. I am so grateful that we have so many brothers that we have talked to. And I always say the same thing, that success does not equal what someone does for a living. They, in fact, may be a civil rights attorney and a scholar, a professor, all these things, running a whole department in a university, all of those things, or not. What is really core is the content of the man's character. That's what we start with. And the impact that he has on his community, starting with the nuclear family and spreading out to the rest of us. We really want those brothers also to have their voices in this forum, because we need each other. And so please, next week, stay tuned for yet another amazing king. And please remember to spread love and have a great day. Thank you so much. And Tim, thank you so much. That was really
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate you having me on. Thank you again.